invite light without welcoming it. Welcome in. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are around the planet. We welcome and appreciate you joining us on the Awesemo betting show here on the Awesemo Odds channel. Easy thing you can do to repay us for some insightful commentary and winning you some money is hit that thumbs up button, smash away, and make sure you're subscribed to the Awesemo Odds channel, the Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, our Awesemo DFS channel as well. Jordan is producing, so say hi in the chat. BetMGM is going to power our odds, and boy, do we have an opportunity for you to cash in 2 times over with BetMGM. We'll tell you about that. But the star of the show, the man who makes this work, the man who makes you money, every now and again I help, is Ben Rasa. What's happening, brother?
What's up, man? Yeah, don't sell yourself short. You've been on the money in NFL. Honestly, it's been it's not my favorite sport to bet, I'll be honest, but it's been a lone bright spot lately. It was an ugly Saturday of college football for me. Yesterday went okay, though. Panthers, Bears. I know you were on against your boys a little bit. How was your Sunday, sir?
Sunday was great.
Okay.
The only thing that really got me on Sunday was a foolish small play on the Saints. And I should have just stayed as far away from that game as humanly possible. But no, overall, Niners -3, definitely getting in that early before the hook at the start of the week and, bouncing around to a couple of other games. Oh, the big one that actually screwed me over was, and I put it out to you guys on the chat, you and Luffy on the chat, that 5-leg, 11.5 point super teaser where all I needed, Ben, was 44 points, 44 from the Cowboys and the Chargers, and both of these head coaches decided to run the freaking football, and that killed me. Everything else hit except for that. Awful.
Yeah.
Not happy.
That is kind of frustrating. Yes. John Shelton bringing up painful war wounds from Saturday.
That was the only big hit. Well,
it was very bad.
I kind of thought that you were tempting the college. You were tempting fate with the college football gods. And I think I even hinted at that on Friday about UConn.
It was due to happen. Yeah. Army was up 42-0 at halftime, and they didn't cover. It was just one of those weeks. We've had a great start for college football, and you knew there was going to be a couple speed bumps along the road. The trick is, and we're going to talk about this today as we go to Monday Night Football tonight, trick is not to, deviate from what got us here. It's been a great start to the football season if you zoom out. You can't let a couple of what I'll say, I think, pretty fluky losses, and then some games where I had no business winning really, really devolve all the good work. And tonight's matchup, I mean, I don't know. We've had 3 double-digit favorites, including this game. We had the Browns over the Texans, the Bucks, who didn't even play that good, and they still hung 50 basically on the Falcons, and we get another big-time spread tonight.
Yeah, so just looking at the 2 that you mentioned, Houston, I got it at 13.5 at one point, and this wasn't even a look-ahead line. This was mid-week. We had it here in PA Thursday morning. Local papers put the lines out, and it was 13.5, depending on where you were looking. It was ridiculous. I mean, it was way too much of a number to lay for Cleveland, who allowed that backdoor the previous week. The problem with Atlanta was that even when they put up points, Tampa, they're just on a different planet right now with Brady, who's probably going to put up like 60 touchdowns this year. Tonight, I don't know about you. I have a strong gut play that I'll say because I know exactly where I'm going from the game itself. We'll get into some props here as well. And we always lock it up before we get out of here. So make sure in the chat, you hit us up with your lock it up bet of the night, of the week, whatever it is. Maybe you're looking ahead to Saturday or you have a nice prop for us tonight. Let us know so we can bring it up, see what Ben thinks, and play it if he likes it. But I'm not touching the spread. I think this is a perfect opportunity, Ben Rasa, and we haven't really talked about it a ton, and I'm quasi putting you on the spot here, but I think this is a perfect opportunity from a line standpoint to live bet this game. It's ridiculously large. The narrative is that the Packers are going to come right back and show the world that what happened in week 1 was a fluke. And I'm with you. The Packers win this game, but Detroit, divisional opponent, just a theory that I don't want to mess with pre-flop. I'd rather see the Packers maybe only be up 3-0 after one, or maybe the Lions sneak a score right away and that drops 3 or 4 points, that line. I think this is, for me, from a spread standpoint, a live bet opportunity.
And when you say a live bet opportunity, you're looking to get exposure to the Packers?
Yes, but I'm hoping that it's either a slow start for Green Bay, a 3-0, something like that, where they're moving the ball for whatever reason, a drive stalls, or most importantly, because it would be so counter to the narrative. I mean, I got in on the team total over 6.5. That was one of my plays on Green Bay, over 6.5 first quarter, but I don't think that comes right away. I mean, hey, if Detroit gets up, Ben, with a field goal, or dare I say even a touchdown early on, that might chip away 2 to 3 points and drop it below 10.
No doubt about it. It really comes down to the question of, are you willing to say, okay, I may not get a chance to get exposure to Green Bay. Say they win the toss, they say they want the ball, and they go down and score. There's a chance that this line is never back to 11 and a half. And that's something you have to be willing to live with. I don't think that that's a huge deal. Sometimes you just say, you know what, I was willing to wait and it never got to where I was comfortable. I think the thing you don't want to do is say, I wanted to get Green Bay live, and you force a number. Like what you're saying makes total sense. If it hangs, if the Lions start fast, you could pick this up at a great number. It's just the other side of it. You may end up never getting in.
I agree. And I think, to your point, and again, this is such a key element for live betting, where if you're not playing something pre-flop, you have to go in with the mentality that Ben just explained. And look, people bet. That's why they're here. People listen to, if it's a sharp they tail on Twitter, you should be following Ben at JazzResDFS, at Shander Show for me. So you're all familiar with this mentality, but you probably don't hear it spoken about enough. And that's, you have to be committed. And it's not just committed to pounce on a number that's favorable, but this up, I go into it, as you say, Rasa, with the expectation that it could happen. Or if the Packers get up 7-0, then I'm done. I'm not jumping on Detroit at that point with a 19-point line. That's for sure.
No doubt about it. Yeah. Again, I think this just comes down to being patient, picking your spots, and being willing to say, you know what, anytime you pass on a game, it can never be that bad. What's the worst that can happen? Okay, maybe you miss out on an easy spot here or there, but for every time, you save yourself plenty of money by not forcing it. So I agree with you. I mean, let's just step back a second. I wanted to ask you this, because we really have only seen, of course, these teams once. We saw the Lions be non-competitive against the Niners. The final score looked okay, but they weren't in that game. And then Green Bay was the ultimate no-show against the Saints team that, I mean, they showed up a little, but they certainly didn't look great against Carolina.
So let's look at this. And I think we need to continue to peel some layers off of this onion. What's more likely to regress to the mean tonight? Is it Green Bay commanding a football game? And again, doesn't have to be putting up 50. I think they do it in different ways, by all means. Coming back to the middle and performing, especially offensively, much crisper, much more in control of an offense, really being led by Aaron Rodgers, who was an MVP candidate, if not arguably the MVP last year, right? So all of this, that I think is more likely to happen than Detroit, who laid an egg in the first half and took advantage, as you mentioned, of super soft coverage in the second half, coming alive and giving this Packers team a fight. But I still go back to that 11.5 as we have it on BetMGM and say, I don't need to. I don't need to play the Packers at 11.5 tonight.
No doubt. I have no interest in laying that number either. I don't know how you would back the line. I would never back the Lions in this spot. No. I just am not going to back them. They're a dysfunctional team, and I don't think that they're good at all. But Green Bay, it's hard. This goes to you. You're the expert on the narrative street. It does seem like Aaron Rodgers, after having to answer these stupid questions all week and, just pulling the part 2 of the RELAX, everyone calm down. I would be really surprised in Lambeau if they don't look pretty crisp. 11.5 is a lot of points, as Detroit showed last week. The Packers could be up multiple scores, and then you look at the final score and you don't get there. but it's hard to think that Detroit. I mean, do you think there's any chance that Detroit can win this game?
No,
I
I
really
wouldn't
don't
even
see
waste
it.
a quarter of a unit on that plus 450 money line. Why?
No,
Why?
it
Here's
seems
something.
unnecessary.
Could you make an argument? And again, this is about the counter belief. Let's look at the narrative. The big picture narrative is, hey, the Packers are going to come in and mop the floor with the Lions, who are feeling themselves off a inflated second half against the Niners. Packers been relax, as you said, and all that shit that piles up when Aaron Rodgers looks as awful as he did. So everybody's expecting the Packers to win this game. And then that comes, and this is why I love the narrative and I love throwing it at you, because it does force you to think a little bit. Everybody is building off of this narrative with bets, right? Hey, Packers, lay the 11.5, over 48.5, lay the first quarter, lay everything, lay everything. Where would be the one opportunity for the books to cause a little bit of panic based off of something that is not predicted? And that's Detroit coming out and actually winning the first quarter, if not covering that 3.5. And I know you're probably rolling your eyes about another first quarter bet here, Ben Rasa, but that would be something I would look at. The only thing I would look at that would be pro Detroit tonight. Only thing.
I mean, it's a good number, certainly. Just look, there's only 9.5 points, in terms of an over under. So if you can keep Green Bay out of the end zone, you're going to have a pretty damn good shot of covering that. The game could be tied, obviously. I almost would rather, not saying I'm going to do this, I'd rather take plus 220, honestly.
Then get the 3.5.
Yeah, and just say, you know what, maybe it's a sloppy start. They're up 7-3, they're up 3-0, rather than say, because I think Green Bay is a little more binary in the sense, if they look crisp, the 3.5 is not going to help you too much. They could be up 14-0, but if they don't, if there is a major problem, Detroit's probably more likely to actually be ahead in the game. Maybe you push a lot. That's a little annoying. But other than that, I don't mind if you're going to do it. Just go for it and take the 220.
Look at that. The aggression is here. It's just a little bit of a nudge, right? That's all it took. I love that first quarter play.
I mean,
now I'm going to tail it.
Sometimes you have to sacrifice probability of success for some upside. Like, I don't think that there's that big of middle ground between the 3.5 and the plus 220, but the odds, obviously you're getting over 2-1 on one of them. The other one, you're minus 110. To me, that's worth it. Of course, there's going to be some situations where it's, Green Bay's up by 3 or the game is tied, and you're going to say, damn, I wish I had those points. But when you get paid off on the plus 220, it'll make up for that and more.
Look, and you can take advantage of what we have to offer, this risk-free bet up to $1,000 on BetMGM. And most importantly, you're going to get, if all you need to do is bet $10 at BetMGM, and you'll get 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. That is insane.
Yes.
Right there. $10 is all you have to bet for what Lofty has told us is like a $90+ a month package for Awesemo Plus Platinum. That's ridiculous that we're giving that away. We can't be making money giving this away.
No, that's why it's just a one-time style offer. And again, you can bet $10 minimum, but if you go for more, you're getting the risk-free bet, don't forget. So even if it goes wrong, you're going to get that money back in free bets. So you have ample opportunities. If you are starting out and you're trying to build a bankroll, this is a great way. Let the site do the work for you. And you get all the tools here at Awesemo that have had so much success for everyone. This is going to be fascinating. I am excited to watch this game tonight just to see, exactly where these two teams fall right now, because I think there's a lot of mystery, particularly with Green Bay after what we saw in week 1.
So I'm going to hit you with where I really like, where I'm leaning the most on the game itself. And then we'll get into, I know you have a couple of player props for us to keep an eye on, but just to circle back to what you were saying about the risk-free bet, I wonder, and you don't have to answer this right now, maybe as we continue to talk about props and even my play on the total here, something else pops up that would be a better application of the risk-free bet. And look, for whatever people's unit size is, however people they bet, that's fine. It doesn't have to be. It's up to $1,000. But for the hypotheticals, we always put $1,000 of risk-free money in Ben Ross's pocket and ask him to make a play. I think of everything that we're going to talk about, my prediction is in the next 20 minutes or so when we wrap, the risk-free play of the night, sounds like a segment, is laying it on Detroit first quarter. I think for the return and the risk inherent in it, you probably won't find a better risk, not no pun intended there, on the board.
I mean, I don't have a big take on the, like I said, I'm not going to back a side here. I'm more prone to jump on with you in a smaller segment of the game. I think the spread feels about right, and Green Bay will be up anywhere from 7 to 20 points at the end. Where that falls, who knows? At the same time, when you shrink it down to a quarter, it's a little more projectable at times. I don't mind that. I do think, as your boy in chat is talking about with some of these props, I think that props are the way to go tonight on this game. There's a couple guys that I really want to dig into. That's probably where I would allocate it. But as you say, risk-free bet, it's really your choice of, do you want to take a shot and go for some big bucks, or do you want to be conservative? I don't think there's a right or wrong answer. It's just each person has that opportunity. That's what makes it such a great deal.
Now, we have two things to address on the chat, as you aptly pointed out about our buddy John Shelton. And I'll explain why he's looking at Hawkinson as well. But also breaking news from Jordan Klein, who has had to reduce his unit size after Sunday.
Yeah, I feel you, brother. I mean, that's something on a serious note. I do think that's one of the bigger leaks for people is, with the unit size of, like, you want to make sure it's within a range that you're somewhat able to stay pretty flat. You don't want to have, and I'm not great with this sizing lately. I've been actually complaining to you, my friend, a lot in our Discord and our Slack.
Yes.
My sizing has not been good this year. Where I've really gotten aggressive, it's been on the wrong spots. You want to make sure you're consistent. You don't have to say flat. You can always up it in good situations and reduce it for some of the bets that maybe have a larger payout. But you always want to be able to make sure that you're not just picking the right sides, but you're applying the right type of bet in terms of unit size to that selection.
Before we hit, and he's a name that if you haven't heard Ben Rasa mention so far from preseason to start of the season, then you must not be subscribed to what we're doing. And that's TJ. But real quick, I love the under tonight. Love it. I know there's some juice to the over, but I love the under 48.5 because of this belief that Green Bay is going to put up 50. Hey, they could easily suffocate Detroit for a 33-7, a 33-9 type game where Detroit doesn't do a damn thing. And we're right back to, hey, this is the Green Bay Packers team we thought was at the start of the season en route to winning their division and possibly the Super Bowl. That's where I see this game. Green Bay is entirely in control, and Detroit is able to squeeze out maybe 7 to 10 points max. And that's why I would pound, and I am going to, and you'll hear about it, especially if it doesn't hit tonight. But I'm all over the under. Team under 48.5, Ben Rasa.
I mean, I love to sweat a good under. You think if it's funny because, and I don't know, maybe there's other philosophies out there, but I always subscribe to the thought, if you are a bad team, you want to slow down the game because that ups the variance. Less possessions mean if something fluky happens, it means more. If you have hundreds of possessions like basketball, that's why in basketball, the better team usually wins, particularly when there's a series. But in football, if you only get the ball 5 times and a half, well, if a couple weird things happen, that can really change it. And I would think if you're Detroit, you would really want Swift and Williams to get a large majority of these plays and keep that clock moving, keep Rodgers on the sidelines. If they can do that, that'll really go a long way into you cashing this ticket.
All right. So another reminder here, you see at the top, all new users bet $10 at BetMGM. You'll get the 3 free months of Awesemo Plus Platinum. You can also take advantage of that risk-free bet up to $1,000 using our promo code Awesemo. And as Jordan has it up, we're watching and keeping everything powered here by BetMGM. Let's look at a couple of player props that jumped out to you first, sir.
John Shelton in chat, he knew it. He knows where I'm going. TJ Hawkinson, over 4.5 receptions. It was the first one I was drawn to. 11 targets in the first game, 9 receptions. Just fantastic output. Goff looked to him early. Goff looked to him often. It's going to be like that all season. I don't think anything in this game screams that it's going to be different. The spread is 11.5 points. They should be throwing. And I think Hawkinson right now is that safety blanket. Clearly, he's healthy. Eight catches, 97 yards and a touchdown in week 1. That's fantastic output. Now, it is minus 155. It is a little juicy, but Eitan, I feel very confident that he's going to see basically double-digit targets again tonight. Can he convert 50% of those? I think the answer to that is pretty easily yes.
50% of how many targets? Because I see a play on BetMGM where looking at Hawkinson based on the number of targets and the expectation we have and knowing how big of a safety blanket he's going to be all game, no matter the circumstance or script. What's your anticipation as far as targets tonight?
I mean, it's a situation again with the Packers an 11.5 point favorite. Goff threw the ball 57 times against San Francisco. That's ridiculous. But even if he throws the ball 40 times tonight, I think Hawkinson can have upwards of a 25% target share. I don't think 10 targets is a crazy number tonight.
So the play I think what you can do is build a little bit of a small tower. It's like one of those ancillary towers you saw on that shitty Game of Thrones show, right? And I watched every single episode, so I could say that. But
so did I.
Did you share that same sentiment that it was disappointed you?
It was, I'm not a big like Lord of the Rings type it was, listen, I watched all the way through. It had its moments. Right. It had its other type of moments. It's a solid show. It's not in my elite category. I'll put it to you like that.
It felt like I took the over 55 in that Cowboys Chargers game and I sat through a bunch of guys running the football. That's kind of how I felt.
You see what you've done, by the way? Now, friend of the show, Strammy, every time we do a show now, everyone asks about the quarterback's rushing yards.
Yes.
Always. Yes. No matter who
we're getting to that. I promise you, we're going to get to that. Here's the thing about TJ, though. Going back to the number over 4.5, I think you're compelled, right? You have to take this, even if it's juiced upwards as it is in the 150s. Here's one that I like. I don't love, but I like, and I bounce it off you. To record 7+ on BetMGM is a 220 return. That's the difference of 5 to 6 grabs versus 7 to 8 grabs is the difference of minus 155 to plus 220, Ben.
It's kind of what we talked about with the first quarter with the Lions. Same kind of thing. Less probability of success. But how many times in this game does Hawkinson really get peppered with targets? I think there's a pretty good chance of that. And if he's taken out of the game, say for some reason he's really non-existent, well, whether you bet over 7 or over 4.5, you'd be better off betting something like 7 because you're paying way less juice. So obviously the only time that hurts, and there's clearly a probability this happens, is if he records 5 or 6 or even 7, and then you would push. But I get it. It comes down to target share, as you mentioned. For him to get up to those numbers, he obviously is going to have to be pretty busy. You're going to need Goff to drop back 40 plus times again.
Where else are you looking? I'm sure you have a scorer here at some point, maybe in any time, maybe a first. I heard you give out a first and last with Pete on Sunday morning. Is that right?
Possibly.
Didn't you give out a first TD, a first and last TD?
Oh, yeah. Diggs. Yeah. That didn't work because Singletary went absolutely wild.
Yes, unfortunately.
So standard. But, it's actually a perfect segue into what we're talking about. And we got to get into this because I don't understand this one. We talked on the Sunday strategy show with Alex and Lofty and myself. Nick Chubb's anytime to score was like minus 200 against the Texans. And you could see why. You knew they were going to be running the ball. They were double-digit favorite. It just almost felt inevitable that Chubb was going to find the end zone. Aaron Jones tonight, anytime touchdown, minus 105, basically a coin flip. To me, that does not add up. I feel like he's extremely likely to score tonight, maybe the most likely Packer. I know Devontae Adams is unbelievable, but Aaron Jones, he can catch the ball if needed. He's certainly going to be viable in the running game. Their team total is north of 30. Why would he not get in the end zone or at least have ample opportunities to cash that ticket? I absolutely love that prop tonight that Aaron Jones will score.
Minus 105 on BetMGM. You're not even laying a ton You're laying a nickel on
Nothing.
that. That's it.
To me, he should be.
What's off on that?
Chubb.
Devontae Adams is minus 175 versus Jones. I mean, honestly, if I were to play two guys anytime TDs tonight, I can get Jones at basically even money. And I'm with you. I think from a big play to just targets out of the backfield to a team that we anticipate up enough to run, Aaron Jones going to have multiple opportunities. How about Robert Tonyan at plus 125, a guy that, like Hawkinson, is going to take a ton of targets in the red zone? To get plus money on him and even money on Jones seems like a smart play overall. Even Hawkinson is plus 150.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Lion guys, it's a different situation because you might only have one or two chances to score. Like the Packers.
Probably one, yeah.
These guys, they all should have opportunities. It's not like they can't coexist. I don't understand, and maybe in chat, feel free to chime in. A guy like Aaron Jones, to me, should be closer to where Devontae Adams is than Tonyan.
Yep.
I think that he is a focal point of the offense. He certainly can find the end zone. And if they're winning late, I know they've got other backs, of course, but at the same time, I don't think that A.J. Dillon is going to just take all of it. I think Aaron Jones, particularly coming off a game where he had 5 carries for 9 yards, it's not like he put any wear and tear on the body in week 1. He should be primed to absolutely at home find the end zone.
Plus 280 for Randall Cobb. The broadcast would love something like this. And, I'm not getting into the deep conspiracy of all of this, but just for a guy at plus 280 to bring up that conversation, the connection and all, I don't know. I mean, he's right there with Lazard. So it's not like Cobb is, dealing with St. Brown numbers or Lewis numbers.
I mean, I'm a Randall Cobb guy. I am. I'll be, again, story that no one cares about. My first ever really big DraftKings win was when Monday Night Football used to be included in the slate. And Randall Cobb had three touchdowns against the Chiefs. And I always will be grateful for him. He's always been a fan favorite of mine. Former Kentucky player as well. That helps. I'll tell you this. You want to get crazy? Let's get nuts. Why not? Randall Cobb, first touchdown scorer. You're going to get some serious odds if you want to do that.
Plus 16 on BetMGM.
Yeah. That's not bad. I mean, I still think, again, shot. That's where unit size comes in. Like if you were betting these props, you're not going to put the same amount on what I would say like an Aaron Jones prop where I think he's likely to score and something like that, where you could put a tenth or quarter of a unit. And if you hit, wow, you've got a little bankroll boost that you weren't anticipating.
That's a great call there, especially the difference of 1,600 on the return versus plus 280. There's one more prop that I was looking at. It's a little juice to the over. I think the number is, again, falling in line with what we expect for this Packers team tonight, being up and being up as well, not just with the 7 or 10 point lead. You mentioned A.J. Dillon in comparison to Aaron Jones. The Dillon rushing yards is 35.5. Now, it's a little juiced at minus 125 to the over. I'm not terribly afraid of that by any means, but we know that Dillon is going to get some touches. We know that the Packers are going to be up, and we know that it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers dropping back and throwing 50 times tonight. Dillon breaking 2 runs with a couple of volume carries. It's hard for me to think that he doesn't get to a 38 to 40 to 42 type day.
Yeah, I mean, this is a guy, it's funny because Aaron Jones, as much as I love him, he really hasn't ever had the backfield to himself. And that's not going to be the case again. They were always content to use, Jamal Williams at times with him. And I think A.J. Dillon has shown that he's going to garner some interest. I mean, this was a guy in college. I know it's different, but at Boston College, he was an absolute workhorse, like Jonathan Taylor-esque. They were feeding him the ball 30 plus times, and he's one of those type of runners. I do think it's not a concern. It's just a volume-based play. He's not the type of guy, in my opinion, who's likely to rip off 1 or 2 like long runs. He's the type of guy, though, if you give him 5, 6, 7, 8 carries, he's just going to consistently churn out, 4 or 5 yard runs. And if you can get that volume, over 35.5 should be no problem.
All right, we're going to lock it up before we get out of here. Give you Ben's big play here. Maybe on the game, maybe on the week, maybe there's a look ahead line. We'll take yours as always on the chat. Lock it up. I did see that the question from Strammy 10 about A.J. Dillon taking away from a touchdown standpoint from Jones, which I'm with you. I don't think that, especially with that return. Just looking across the board here, I did have some fun and pile this together. Now it's an all three score a touchdown.
Oh, Jesus.
Return is at +9. I couldn't resist. I could not resist. I did this just for you. And I bet it. I'm going to send it to you in the screenshot of
going to go to my spam
Discord
folder, but I'll dig in there and scoop it out for you. What do we got?
You won't even open it up. Admit it.
I said I got to send it. It goes to my spam folder, but that's all right.
I know it does. There are plenty that I send you that I don't think you see. But
I see them all.
Devontae Adams, Tunyon, Hawkinson. All three scored tonight. That's a +950 return.
Hawkinson, Tunyon, Devontae Adams. That's what you said?
Correct.
I mean, you got
+950 on the return.
Yeah, I mean, of those three guys, I think that Tunyon is the most interesting because for volume, Adams is a monster. Don't worry about him. Hawkinson's on the worst team, of course, but he's the focal point. Tunyon doesn't get the volume, but his targets are such high quality. That's what you're banking on. Like if his 5 targets are probably just as valuable in touchdown equity as Hawkinson's 10 targets, honestly. Like because they're goal line targets, they're in an offense that scores. I think for that to happen, you probably want the Lions to actually start fast, maybe Hawkinson to score first, and that would cause Aaron Rodgers maybe to be throwing a little more than we anticipate. You just worry if Aaron Jones gets in on the ground a couple of times, it's going to be tough to have all these Packers getting there.
John Shelton locking up the Razorbacks +6 at home versus A&M. Look ahead. I love it.
They're much better than I think everybody thought. I was actually pretty high on them coming into the year, and then I just didn't capitalize after week 1. But I will say, easy life for Arkansas. You just play in Fayetteville every game. Don't worry about the road. Just live at home all month. Easy game. I do like it. I wanted to ask you this before we get to our lock it ups, Eitan. You know, it's 2 weeks in. There are a handful of teams at 2-0. There's a handful of teams at 0-2. You got I'm going to rattle off a couple of teams, and I just wanted to ask you kind of on a macro level, are any of these teams potentially in like, I don't want to say must win mode, but they, to fall to 0-3 would be crippling. You got teams like the Giants. The Vikings lost a heartbreaker again.
Vikings, yes.
The Jets threw many interceptions. The Jaguars might be the worst team in the league. And the Falcons also look lost. You've got a couple of them playing. The Falcons and the Giants actually play each other. Some of these other teams, out of that group, do you see anyone that maybe doesn't deserve to be in that bucket right now?
Yeah. The one team that doesn't deserve to be in this bucket is going to fall to 0-3. And that's one of my lock it ups. I actually have 2 this is the look ahead version for me of lock it up. Look, I think right now, the general belief is that the Minnesota Vikings got burned in that OT loss to Cincinnati where they probably should have won. Come from behind, late field goal victory by Arizona. This team is just not 0-2 bad. Mm-hmm. But at home against a Seahawks team that travels, that saw a brutal loss at home to the Titans where they were in control of that football game and the Titans come back. I love Seattle. And here's the thing, -118 is what I got on the look ahead money line. That's one of my 2 lock it ups right now, because I think as people continue, Seattle is going to take on more if it's the money line or even points. So even though it's a short 1 point that I saw initially, I took the money line. Seattle, contrary to I think what a lot of people think is, there's no way Minnesota starts out 0-3. And the other one to take a think about, this line looks way too big. But here's the thing, Ben. I only see it moving in one direction. So if I'm going to jump in on this line, and I have conviction on this, I only see it moving in one direction, and that's hurting me if I don't jump in now. I'm going to lay the 7. I'm going to lay the full touchdown in Jacksonville, Arizona on the road, because I can see this thing bumping up to 7.5, maybe 8 as we get deeper into the week. It's not crossing through 7. So those are my two lock it ups. The look ahead, lock it up. Seattle money line in Minnesota and Arizona laying the 7 at Jacksonville.
Interesting. I'm 100% with you with Arizona, not in the sense that I'm going to bet them, in the sense that if you are going to, the time is now. The public's going to be on Arizona. Nobody wants to bet Jacksonville for obvious reasons. The team that I'm going to talk about is Atlanta. I think they're going to fall to 0-3, and I don't know if they really deserve to be there. They get the Giants, and listen, the Giants, you could argue they don't deserve to be 0-2 either. They're at home, though. Daniel Jones is still very difficult to figure out. He makes some really nonsensical plays, but he also is pretty good at times. I think if they can get a little healthier, they can get Tony involved, Ingram back. The Giants are not that bad of a team, and I feel for Atlanta, who they were outplayed by the Eagles. I didn't think they played that bad last week, but the result against Tampa is just in another tier of opponents right now. So my favorite look ahead right now is actually the Giants. It's going to probably tick to 3.5. If you can find -3 right now, I think you lock that in because this one, I don't think anyone wants to back Atlanta, and I can kind of see why.
I love that over 49, by the way. When I got in, It was even money. Atlanta has shown now that offense is working. The Giants are clearly taking shots down the field, as we saw that overhit Thursday night. 49 seems like a good number right now. That may move a little bit. So I jumped in on that over on that total of the game. But if I were to play the side, I'm with you. I love that road element too, especially as things may move. You had the Falcons, right?
I do. No. Yeah. I like the Giants at home.
Oh, the Giants. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I think Atlanta long-term is a pretty good team. I think this is just another tough spot for them. Like I said, outplayed in week 1, dismantled by Tampa, but it's Tampa. Yep. I don't rule anything out that. I think that Daniel Jones and the Giants will do enough here. And unfortunately, kind of like what you're saying with the Vikings, they're a team that shouldn't be 0-3, but I have a feeling they are going to be 0-3. And for the Falcons, that's a tough pill to swallow.
All right, we want you all back here Thursday, 1:00 Eastern, as the Awesemo betting show rolls on. We'll get you all ready for Thursday night. May sneak a college play in before Friday, where it's just bedlam before the weekend. Hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you're subscribed to the Awesemo Odds channel, the Awesemo Fantasy Football and DFS channel as well. Thanks to Jordan for producing. Thanks to BetMGM for doing an amazing job providing us with these odds, the risk-free bet, and then take advantage. New users, bet $10 at BetMGM and get your first 3 months of Awesemo Plus Platinum free. It's that easy. It's that simple. Rasa, great stuff, brother. Thanks for making us some money tonight.
Yes, let's go, Aaron Jones. Good luck, everyone. Talk to you guys soon.